Welcome to episode 91. Got here, Jack. Welcome to my show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Can you let the listeners and audience know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, that's obviously a long-winded answer. How long? I can keep it fairly short and broad, and if you want to
Yeah.
go into details, we can. I'm a professional keynote speaker. 30 years old. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and I got started on my speaking career back when I was in college at San Diego State. Really in high school, actually. So I grew up in Kansas City. Went to San Diego State, which is basically a different country. It's halfway across the country for college. And that's where I really started picking things up with my speaking career. And it initially all started because I had quite an interesting personal background of just overcoming lots of personal battles when it came to stuff like mental health struggles, eating disorder issues, body image issues, crazy like severe injuries and surgeries. And so that started the career. And then after college, on my 23rd birthday, more to my story was added. I ended up developing chronic kidney disease, and I spent over 800 days in the hospital since 2018. I've had 14 different urology surgeries. I've had a gazillion tubes going in and out of me like I'm some superhero villain, uh, and gone from being a competitive CrossFit athlete who weighed 250 pounds and I could run a sub 6 minute mile and snatch 315 pounds over my head. And then within 6 months of having my chronic kidney stuff, I got down to 170 and just a couch potato in the hospital. So that was quite the the cold turkey change in my life
Yeah.
there. And that obviously just added to my speech. And now when I'm not doing speaking gigs, I do personal training through my own LOC and through a gym here in North Kansas City. And then obviously with speaking gigs, my main clientele is middle schools, high schools, and colleges. And it's a broad thing, but the three pillars are embracing vulnerability, overcoming adversity, and then destigmatizing mental health. And so that's the avenue I try to go down with those, and obviously sprinkle in some of my own personal story. So
Yeah.
that's a very big bird's eye view right there. And obviously, I'm fascinated to learn more. And you can obviously ask me anything you want.
Yeah, of course. So, moving right along. So, uh, your childhood, how was that for you? Can we go a little bit
Yeah,
down
yeah.
memory
So,
lane?
the one thing I always make clear whenever I do podcasts or when I do speaking gigs is I don't come from a broken home at all. I've never been physically abused. Nothing like that. Like my parents are still married. My family's there's like no divorces in my family on either side really. Uh, I'm the middle child. I have an older brother and I have a younger sister. And I'm a '94 baby, so I'm 30. And it was interesting because right from birth, I had emergency surgery on my ureters and my bladder, and they
Oh,
knew my
wow.
kidneys were messed up then, but
Yeah.
they didn't really anticipate it would progress into what it did when I was 23. So I was kind of right from the beginning. I'm not sure what the best way to put it is, but like wrong place, wrong time. Just something happened initially, and that was basically the example of my life. I started getting crazy injuries. I had all my like little kid pictures. I got black eyes and or other injuries through sports. Whereas my brother and my sister, like not one scratch on them. Like they never
No
had
foot.
anything quote unquote bad happen. So I was always one of those kids. Like my parents would be like, all right, what is it now? Type of thing. Because I always had some sort of physical obstacle to try to overcome, which is not. I'm not complaining. That's just the reality. I was just kind of unlucky to some extent. And so growing up, I did everything. I played every sport you can imagine. I excelled in school. But the thing that started to develop was when I got sports and my own movement taken away from me, I didn't really know how to deal with that. God forbid something happens the way I don't want it to happen, right? And so my little young immature brain didn't know how to respond to that. And so that led to the stress, the perfectionism, the depression, the anxiety, eventually eating disorders. And then at the same time, never asking for help, never telling anyone. I had that huge, like, I'm a dude, we don't admit weakness type
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah.
toxic,
Male
toxic, trait.
masculinity.
100%, which is, the biggest pansy, wimpy thing anyone can do is lie. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. I just lied. Oh, I'm fine. So, my whole childhood wasn't terrible, but
Yeah, yeah.
boy, what's crazy is I'm 30, so the last 7 years I've been dealing with this chronic kidney disease and dozens of surgeries. I'm in the hospital every week. It's the happiest 7 years of my life by a mile, which you wouldn't think like on paper, like how is that possible? It's because I've actually just learned how to deal with adversity and not fight and resist life. Just accept the way it's happening and control the things I can't control. So growing up between sports and school, I just
Yeah,
over
control.
stressed,
Yeah.
to the T, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, you could like control in that environment. You could control your
Yeah,
test
and
results. You
even
can
when I was a
control.
kid, no one even made it clear
Yeah.
to me. It's like, all right, you can control your attitude and your actions. That's it. And so, like, even for example, like in sports, I would be worried so much about the weather and my teammates or the refs or whatever. I wasted so much energy on stuff I couldn't actually change, which is just obviously silly. But our brains trick us with that, and so it's the same with other things. I always tell people I was like a feather in the wind. When good things were happening, I was in a good mood. When quote unquote bad things happened, I was in a bad mood. I was just
Yeah.
very vulnerable, and that's obviously not great to live your life like that.
Yeah, of course, for sure. For sure. And what was like the catalyst or that moment that changed for
Yeah,
you
so
too?
like I always take pride on having self awareness. I feel like I knew when I was young, like yeah, I absolutely suck at handling adversity. I just and I didn't. The
Yeah.
definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again,
Yeah.
expecting a different result. And that's what I did for 23 years. So the stimulus was an injury or something happened I didn't want to happen, and the result was stress, depression, woe is me. I was the king of the victim mentality. And what I realized was when I was 23, this is not my first initial kidney infection, but this was about 6 to 7 months into dealing with my chronic health situation. I had something called urosepsis, which I had a kidney infection, which became septic, which basically means my blood got infected, which can kill you if you don't get it treated. I'm not sure the exact numbers on it. Um,
Like septic as in like cancerous or?
no, it's like the infection spread to your blood,
Oh, okay, okay.
which then means it affects your heart and all your other organs. And if you don't get it treated within a certain amount of time, hours to a days, it will kill you eventually. Your heart will shut down. So I remember this was San Diego. I was in the ICU, so I was in the ER waiting room for 7 or 8 hours because it was so busy. And this was like my 10th or 11th infection at the time. And I remember telling the lady at the front desk, I said, "Look, I'm not crying wolf here. I know something's wrong." And they couldn't do anything about it because it was such a busy night that night. Well, by the time I finally got back to a bed, they took my vitals and they took my labs and they realized I was septic. So, my body was shutting down, my kidneys, my heart.
Oh yeah, yeah, septic. Yes.
And so, it wasn't like I was seconds away from death or anything like that, but it was when the nurse's eyes are huge and the doctor's eyes are huge and they called my parents, like something's up, like it's a little sketchy. And I remember thinking, whether I get through the sepsis or not, all my doctors had told me that whole week, this is going to be like a lifelong or long-term thing you have to deal with and work through. So for the first time ever, it just clicked in my head. I'm thinking like, okay, there's got to be a better way to deal with this because if not, it's going to be a really miserable existence for the rest of my life. And that was the first time I really understood like there's a way that I can approach this because with all my other adversities in the past, there was an end point, right? There was always an injury. And I knew if I went to physical therapy or had the surgery, in 6 months, 8 months, or a year, I'd be back to 100% and it'd be over. Well, this is a lifelong thing. And so that was that moment, that ICU visit, about 6 to 7 months into me dealing with this stuff. It was just one of those like aha light bulb moments. I just remember thinking like, all right, this, whether I get through this or not, nothing's going to change for the rest of my life in regards to like these health struggles. So I better learn a better way to deal with it mentally and emotionally. Otherwise, I'm going to drive myself crazy and
Yeah, of
just be a
course, for sure.
terrible example. So that was
Yeah.
really it. It was that ICU visit that just kind of slapped me in the face.
Yeah, oh, wow, wow. Yeah, similar with my story, like just having a physical disability and not knowing you're gonna be 100%, but like, like just to overcome those adversities and change your mindset, most importantly, even.
Absolutely. It's the whole thing is like, I'm sure you can obviously relate to this is no matter what, I'm trying to figure out how to say this the best way. Like if you have a lifelong disability
Yeah.
or ailment or injury or whatever word you want to use, no amount of stress, anxiety, or worry is going to magically reverse it and make it go away, right?
No. No.
It's just going to make it worse. And
Yeah.
so that's so obvious, but like common sense is a very rarely common habit. And so that's
Yeah.
how I've trained my brain over the last 7 years to actually like realize that. I've got a permanent tube in my stomach to help with my bladder, my kidneys, and no matter how much I stress or have anxiety, it's not going to magically make the tube go
Yeah, it's
away.
not
Like that's
going to
just
go
something
away.
I have to live with every day, right? And something I got on my arm, I've covered in tattoos, but it could always be worse. And that's just true. Like that's just the statement that humbles me. If I ever feel like I'm flirting on that line of like woe is me, I just
Yeah, yeah.
remind
Whoa,
myself
me.
it could literally always be worse. Like I'd be dead if I lived in a third world country, like
Mm.
that type of thing.
Same. Yeah, same.
Absolutely. I mean, it sometimes is not fun to admit that because
Yeah, I
your
know.
brain every time deep down it literally could be worse. Like I could not be able to walk or I could be blind. Like there's so many things on top of what I have now, and that is a perspective and humble pie for me every single time.
Cool, cool. Can you walk us through some of the motivational speaking journeys you started and some of those opportunities and those experiences?
Yeah, so I know my junior year in high school, I had to drop out of high school for the last 4 months of the year because I got down to 120 pounds. I'm 6 foot. It's probably hard to tell in this video. I'm 6'5", and I got
Wow.
down to 120 pounds. So I was eating. I was super, super skinny, and I had lost so much weight because of my eating disorder and mental health struggles. And that was all stemming from crazy sports surgeries and almost losing my leg and stuff like that. So I had to drop out of high school to go to a rehab facility in Wisconsin, which was about an 8 or 9 hour drive away. And I remember when I came back, I did summer school to catch up. But no, I never gave anyone a warning because I was pretty urgent. I was gone one day, so everyone was wondering like where the hell did he go? So when I came back, people were curious, and my counselor, my academic counselor, she completely saved my life. She basically said, "Hey, I want you to I'm going to encourage you to go share your story with like these students in that room over there because they're struggling with similar stuff." And at first, I was super against it,
Yeah,
and
yeah, of course.
I'm like, "Oh, who cares? No one needs to hear my. No one cares." Finally, I did, and the feedback was amazing. Not only selfishly, like I'm sure you know this. The feeling when you're giving a speech, it's like that flow state, and it's
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
It's just the best. It feels like you're hitting a home run. It's the most fun once you get past the anticipation, the anxiety, the nerves. It's like you're flying, and I love that feeling. And really, all I'm doing is just being vulnerable and saying, "Hey, this is what worked for me. If
yeah.
it works for me, I know most of it or all of it can work for you too." And the feedback was awesome. And I'm like, all right, there's something here. And so then word of mouth, that led to another one, led to another one, led to another one. And then when I got to San Diego, my chemistry teacher caught wind of my story and basically said, "Hey, I'm going to flunk you if you don't share your story and like give a little quick talk in front of the class." And so I was like, all right, well, shoot, I'm screwed now. I
Yeah,
got to do it. And then there we go. So it took off from there. I just, there was really no like technique or art of speaking around it. I basically just told my truth, and it went from there. Word of mouth, word of mouth. I started getting paid to do speaking gigs at middle schools and high schools, some small local community colleges, and then all that stopped once I got sick. Because in 2018, I was in the hospital for 303 days. In 2019, for 290 days. So like I didn't work. I couldn't work. I
yeah.
made zero. I made literally 1 penny the whole 2 year period. So prior to that, though, that's what it happened. And then obviously in the last couple of years, now that I've gotten healthy and I moved back here to Kansas City, basically picked back up. People who started to get to know me, caught wind of my story. They asked me, "Hey, go speak here for free or here for free." And then, as I'm sure you know, one thing leads to another, and you just start
Yeah,
picking it
yeah.
up and going from there.
God's plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. The selfishly, my favorite group to speak in front of are students, because I know
See yourself in them.
100%. There's so much stuff. If I had known what I know now when I was in high school, years of suffering could have been avoided. And some of the stuff isn't even that intricate. It's like, hey, asking for help is not
Yeah,
giving up. Asking for help is refusing to give up.
Yeah,
If
like
I had
it's
someone come into my high school and tell me that my freshman year, would have changed my life. But I
yeah,
never even that was not even in a realm of my possibility. You know.
yeah, it's like asking for help. It's takes strength to do that, not weakness.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some of my favorite gigs I've done recently were in front of like an all boys sports team. You know, and it's kind of like we kind of joked about it and laughed about it earlier in this conversation.
Oh yeah,
The
toxic masculinity.
Yeah, it's kind of that's still kind of it's getting better. But our natural, I think, as guys, our natural inclination is to kind of just like don't show weakness, like you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
All
like I
facade.
said, I would argue the weakest thing anyone can do is lie and
Yeah.
not be honest with how you actually are. That doesn't mean you should get a microphone and drive around your neighborhood and tell
Yeah.
everyone all your problems.
Hey, I
But
have
like,
this. Yeah.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But like I always tell these athletes, and I encourage, I remind myself of this: like, go to the one or two people you know, you trust, or you love. That's who you pour into. And at the end of the day, no one at the end of the day is going to ever get in your brain and make you change or make you do something. So asking for help along with like taking action, that's what will really start to turn your life around. Obviously, it's not going to be always like this. I'm sure everyone knows that by now. There's tons of bumpy roads here and there, but certainly trying to do it alone or lying and being like, oh, I'm fine, and not admitting anything is the quickest way to go downhill. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, for sure. And you said you're a 94 baby. I'm a 96.
There you
Today's my
go.
birthday. Ah,
Today's your birthday?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're doing a podcast with me? I'll take it. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you are 28 now?
29.
29. Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. That's awesome. Happy birthday. Happy that's amazing. Are you anything special you're doing after this?
No, I did something Saturday.
Oh, nice. Okay. Heck yeah, before the week. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was really amazing talking to you. What would you say, or to end off our segment, what would you say being limitless means to you?
Yeah, I think whenever I hear that word, I think everyone's version of that is different. Kind of
Yes,
like if
yes,
you went up to 10 people on the street and you said, "Hey, what does success mean to you?" You're probably going to get 10 different answers.
yeah,
In my opinion, being limitless means you are out of your own way. So you're living your life not based on fear or things outside of your control or fighting things that you can't change. You're actually flirting with or reaching your potential by taking massive daily action, not letting fear dictate your life, and focusing all of your time and energy, which are, in my opinion, the two most valuable commodities on
yeah,
the planet that we all have, right? Focusing as much as or all of your time and energy on the things we can control. And so I always think about, I feel the most limitless personally if I look at a 24-hour day, which is everyone's time, right? Let's say I sleep 8 hours, so that's 16 hours left. I don't want to spend more than maybe 5% of that time on things I can't actually control. I'm trying to just focus all my time and energy on moving the needle in the direction with things that I can impact. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to remember, and that's how we get the most out of our life, in my opinion. And that comes from someone who used to do the exact opposite. When I was younger, first 23, 24, 25 years of my life, my brain was everywhere besides where my feet are. It was going a million miles a minute, worried about all these people's opinions,
yep, yep.
and that was extremely exhausting. So I was the opposite of limitless, whatever that would be, limited.
Yeah, limited.
and it's so that was a lot of word salad. To sum it up, prioritizing all of your time and energy on what you can control, taking massive action without letting fear dictate that action. That is my opinion what it means to be limitless.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And where can our listeners, audience, find more about you?
Yeah, so I actually just had my website revamped, which was very nice. I had a speaking gig, and someone offered to help me revamp it, which is great because I'm not good at that type of stuff.
Yeah,
My website is jackcernet.com, and I'm sure you can put the spelling in the show notes or whatever.
yeah.
Instagram is at IamJackCernet.com. Same with TikTok, Facebook. You can just look up my name. LinkedIn, look up my name, JackCernet.com. And I'll even put an email out there. Email from people that I get, and I'll respond back for sure within 24 hours. Contact@jackcernet.com. I'm open to any conversations.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Well, I appreciate it. This was a fun conversation, and a happy birthday once again.
Thank you.